What do aliens look like? Extraterrestrial life could be built quite differently than we are. Maybe it's based on silicon. There are bizarre images of silicon aliens in this video, so be sure to stay tuned to the end. And if you like it, I'm galactically happy to get a thumbs up and a comment, because that's how we get the YouTube algorithm to show this video to even more people. Thanks a lot, guys, and welcome. Any stupid boy can crush a bug, but all the professors in the world can't make one, said philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer. Sorry to torture you with highfalutin philosophy right away, but I think this quote expresses very well that we still don't really know what life is. I mean, I'm sure that I'm alive, and so are you guys, probably. Life is a fascinating phenomenon that occurs on Earth in numerous forms. But what defines life? In general, it includes the ability to develop, grow, reproduce, and respond to external stimuli. Viruses, for example, are therefore denied the property of being living beings because they cannot reproduce independently.
This is discrimination. Down with virus phobia.
Life is based on a complex biochemical basis, which consists of a multitude of molecules. And among these molecules, carbon occupies the most important role. You can say carbon is the basic element of life on Earth. Without carbon, you would not exist. And also no other living being on this beautiful planet. And this is due to its special properties. Sorry, now we must first refresh the knowledge from the chemistry lessons of the school time. Carbon's ability to form so-called strong covalent bonds and stable molecules makes it ideal for the complexity and diversity of biochemical processes. In fact, carbon can form up to 4 chemical bonds and forms the basic structure of organic molecules, including DNA, proteins, and carbohydrates. These molecules are absolutely critical to the functioning of cells and the structure of the entire organism. Now, however, I can already hear some of you screaming.
Carbon or not, the most important thing for life is water.
Water is of course also an absolutely essential part of terrestrial life. Water is a very good solvent and therefore plays an important role in biochemical reactions. For example, it enables the transport of molecules and the maintenance of cells. In addition, water enables the formation of hydrogen bonds, which are of great importance for the structure and stability of biological molecules. So that should be reason enough to stay hydrated, folks. By the way, this video is not sponsored by the water lobby, unfortunately. Although carbon is the predominant element of life on Earth, other elements play important roles as well. Oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, and many other elements are essential in various biochemical processes because they form the basis for energy balance and metabolism in living organisms. But the basis is always carbon. The big question now is, was this a coincidence? Is it a purely terrestrial development, or is life carbon-based everywhere in the universe? And since we haven't found any extraterrestrial life yet, and only have ourselves as steady objects, you can let your imagination run wild here. Especially from science fiction series and novels, we know the idea that life could also be silicon-based. For example, the Exegor from Star Wars Episode 5. And also the creepy xenomorph from the Alien series are silicon-based life forms. But why silicon? I'll explain after I point out again that you can help me a lot with a thumbs up for the video. So all of you press the like button. Silicon has some chemical similarities with carbon and is therefore often considered as a promising candidate for an alternative biochemical base. But how realistic is the idea of silicon-based life? Is there really a xenomorph running around on an exoplanet somewhere? Perhaps, because silicon is a chemical element that ranks directly below carbon in the periodic table. Like carbon, it can form up to 4 bonds and form complex molecules. And silicon compounds like silicates occur in nature in large quantities and form the majority of rocks and minerals on Earth and probably also on most exoplanets. That speaks already for the fact that statistically seen the probability is not small that life could develop on silicon basis. But now comes a big one. But a small problem lies in the stability of the chemical bonds. While carbon bonds are relatively easy to break and form again, silicon bonds are very stable and difficult to break. This would limit the flexibility and dynamics of the biochemical processes that are, after all, essential to life. This could mean, for example, that silicon life is very inflexible and evolutionary processes could only happen at an absolute snail's pace. This in turn makes it seem unlikely that an intelligent alien species, which for all we know would have undergone a long evolution, would be based on silicon. In addition, there are also only limited possibilities for silicon to interact with a solvent. Water, which is a solvent for biochemical reactions on Earth, could not be used in the same way in a silicon-based biochemistry. It wouldn't work. But liquid methane, for example, could work as an alternative, and as we know from our own solar system, that exists on alien celestial bodies. Saturn's moon Titan is littered with lakes and oceans of methane. If we eventually study Titan more closely and find life forms there, it will be super interesting to see if they might be silicon-based and use methane as a solvent. Of course, that would then be a very strong indication that this can happen everywhere else in the cosmos as well. So the existence of silicon-based life in our universe is possible, but it needs very special conditions, just like on Titan. So rather cold places with dense atmosphere, liquid methane, and probably such alien silicon life would be rather a bit primitive due to lack of fast, flexible evolution. But why actually stop at silicon? Maybe there are pizza-based life forms. Like me, the universe is gigantic. We are talking about at least several hundred billion planets in our Milky Way alone. So why shouldn't there be alternative systems based on elements other than carbon or silicon? We've already had some elements that could potentially play a role in extraterrestrial life: oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, phosphorus, and sulfur, for example. These elements are also widespread on Earth, and while they are not the basis of life, they do play an important role. I mean, try to remove the oxygen in your home. You'll quickly realize that. What about nitrogen-based life? For example, nitrogen is a versatile element and can form stable compounds. Nitrogen compounds like ammonia could serve as solvents, much like water does for carbon-based life. And there is actually evidence that certain microorganisms on our planet can exist in nitrogen-rich environments. It's a bit doubtful that nitrogen-based life would be able to match the complexity and diversity of life on Earth, but primitive nitrogen-based alien life forms on some ammonia-flooded exoplanet? Why not? And the game can be played with a great many more elements. Phosphorus-based life? Theoretically possible. Boron, sulfur, arsenic, and even metals like iron could form alternative biochemical bases. We simply don't know, since we know life only from Earth, and a statistic with only one comparator is so a bit weak. We can only start from the chemical bases, and they tell us that life can theoretically be based on a variety of bases. However, our current methods and techniques for detecting extraterrestrial life are primarily focused on carbon-based life. The question is, aren't we kind of denying ourselves the possibility of finding extraterrestrial life? I would be very interested in your opinion. Is carbon-based life the standard in the universe? So are aliens mostly built like us? Or is this an extremely geocentric perspective and life exists in all forms in the universe? Feel super free to drop me your take in the comments. I hope we can get an exciting discussion going. So guys, and now use your carbon-based fingers to help me to make the 15,000 subscribers full, because I'm very close to it and I know that many of you are watching, but have not subscribed yet. I would be very happy if you changed that now. Thanks guys. Let's stay in the vastness of the galaxy. There the giant star Betelgeuse is pulsating and maybe the supernova is finally imminent. In the last time its brightness increased by up to 50% and the chances are as high as never before that we can see soon the spectacular supernova in the sky from the Earth. You can find out everything about it and when we can expect the supernova in the video shown. Be sure to check it out. And if you want to support my work, then get a Fluffy Plush Pluto or a Fluffy Plush Earth in my space store. Every purchase really helps me a lot to keep the channel going. Otherwise, I'd say see you in the next video. Take care guys.